Good day to you all. Welcome to Metric Hub. Right, today I'm going to do a revision on Public Finance N5, June 2023 question paper. Right, so I'm going to do a full paper revision in preparation for the November 2025 exam. Right, so I'm going to section A. Right, question 1. Various options are given as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question number, right, in your answer book. But let's go to 1.11. Full details of a department's financial activities are compiled in an appropriation report. This will be submitted to Parliament by the editor general, is the one who will submit the report to the Parliament. Right. Let's go to 1.12. The laissez-faire ideology is characterized by the following. The laissez-faire ideology is characterized by the following. Right. So it is characterized by protection of private property and life, maintenance of law and order, and very little control of anything else, which is C, laissez-faire ideology. It is characterized by protection of private property and life, maintenance of law and order, and very little control of anything else. Right. So let's move on to 1.13. An act of parliament that regulates the acquisition of any goods or services through impartial tender boards. That's what you call tender boards. That is what you call tender boards, right? Let's move on to 1.14. The desirable minimum levels of service are determined, as well as the cost to supply such service. 1.14. The desirable minimum levels of service are determined, as well as the cost to supply such services. Right. So the answer is B, which is ideal criterion. Ideal criterion. Right. Let's go to 1.15. According to Giggles 1993-27, governments usually understand the following economic function. Right? So it understands the financing of economic, industrial, and scientific research. Right. D. Right. Let's move on to the question 1.16. The moment that community services such as preventative health services are financed through tax, they become what you call collective services. They become what we call collective services. At the moment, those services are financed through tax. We can call it, they becomes collective services. Let's go to 1.17. A gradual increase in unemployment results in, right, it results in a decrease in tax base. A decrease in tax base. Right. Let's go to 1.18. Changes in the spending of the central government and its taxation policies are known as fiscal policy. They are known as fiscal policy. Let's go to 1.19. Demand more detail and are supervised by local accounting and financial officers within a town and are informed by local bylaws. This is what you call monetary policies. Monetary policy. Sorry. Sorry. This is what you call internal financial regulations. This is what we call internal financial regulations. Demand for detail and are supervised by local accounting and finance officers within a town council and are informed by local bylaws. We call them internal financial regulations. Right. So let's go to 1.110. Which of the following is the reason for privatization? Privatization, right? So the main reason for privatization is to promote the efficient and effective utilization of resources. To promote the efficient and effective utilization of resources, the government might opt to other maybe services to privatization. Right, let's go to 1.111. Province or municipality may raise loans for capital or current expenditure in accordance with reasonable conditions determined by national legislation. But the loans are for current expenditure. The loans for current expenditure must be paid within 12 months. Must be paid within 12 months. Right. So let's move on to the next question. Right. 1.112. The transfer of ownership of private sector assets and functions to the public sector is known as, this is what you call nationalization. Nationalization, whereby the transfer of ownership, private ownership to public sector. Right, that's what you call nationalization. Right. So 1.113, economic welfare functions include. It includes fiscal policies that seek to control taxation. It includes fiscal policies that seek to control taxation, which is D. Right. 1.114. Democracy, in which the power to govern lies directly in the hands of the people rather than being exercised through their representative, is what you call, we call it, this is what you call pure democracy. Pure democracy, whereby democracy lies directly in the hands of the people. That's what we call pure democracy. And let's go to 1.15. Aimed at the development of economic and material prosperity of an individual. This is what you call economic welfare. Aimed at the development of the economic and material prosperity of an individual. That's what we call economic welfare. Right. So let's move on to question 1.2. 1.2. Give one term for each of the following description by writing it next to the question number. Right. So let's go to 1.21. 1.21. When a person or enterprise is the only supplier of a particular product or a service, that's what you call monopoly. When one individual or one enterprise is supplying a particular product in the market, that's what we call monopoly. Right. So let's move on to question 1.22. Allow citizens of a country an opportunity to vote about a particular issue. That's what we call referendum. 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 Right. So let's move on to 1.23. The value of services rendered is equal to the unit of money paid. That's what you call quad pro quo. Quad pro quo. Whereby the service rendered is equal to the amount that the person receives. Right. Let's go to 1.34. The form of government in which eligible citizens participate equally, either directly or through elected parties. That's what you call modern democracy. Modern democracy. Right. A government whereby citizens can participate equally through elections. Right. Let's move on to 1.25. These funds are allocated without any condition attached. That's what we call unconditional grants. Unconditional grants. Unconditional grants. They're allocated without any condition attached. Right. Let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. To the next question. Right. 1.3. 1.3. Choose a description from column B that matches column A. Choose a description from column B that matches column A, right? So 1.31, treasury, a treasury, right? So a treasury is all about funds, finances, and so it is the government department responsible for administration of state finances. That's what we call a treasury, treasury, which is F. Right. Let's move on to 1.32, a budget. Budget, that is an annual work program with details of income and expenditure expressed in monetary terms. That's what you call a budget. That is what you call a budget. Right, let's go to 1.33, project grants. Project grants. So these grants are granted for the funding of a specific capital project, such as housing and water supply, which is A. Right, 1.34, insatiable needs. Insatiable needs are a situation where government spends money on, for example, schools, poverty relief, housing, and roads, but the communities still need more. Right. That is what we call G. 1.35, public income. Public income is the total revenue of all government institutions from all types of taxes and sources. Right. That's C. That's C. Right. Let's go to section B. Section B. Section B. Right. So let's go to question 2.1. Question 2.1. Question 2.1. Right. Name and explain 4 methods of privatization. Name and explain 4 methods of privatization. Name and explain 4 methods of privatization. Right. So we have one, deregulation. Deregulation. Deregulation, whereby it is whereby uh, monetary obstacles or regulations or laws that are taken away so that an industry has no protection against competition from others. Right. We also have what we call denationalization. 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 Right. Whereby we are taking the industry away from the government, taking away the industry away from the government, and uh, uh, the industry they will become a private industry, not a government industry or a state industry. Right. Let's move on to another one, which is what you call depoliticization. 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 Right. Whereby um when services are separated from uh, party politics, whereby services are separated from um, party politics. For example, important services may be separated from party policies. That's what we call depoliticization, right? And lastly, we have what we call um, so these are the three. These are the three, right? That I still remember, right? So let's move on to 2.3. 2.3. 2.3. Explain 5 responsibilities of an accounting officer. Responsibilities of an accounting officer. Right. So, an accounting officer answer any queries about items in budget. Answer any inquiries or queries about any item in budget. 2, he executes drafted budget honestly and responsibly. Execute drafted budget honestly and responsibly. 3, he submits financial year-end statements and auditor's report to Treasury. He also prepares and submits department's draft budget to Treasury. Right. He also personally accountable for financial administration of department. He's accountable for financial administration of department. Yes. So these are the responsibilities of an accounting officer. Let's go to 2.2. So 2.3. 2.3. List the 4 services of social welfare provided by the state to uplift the standard of living for South Africans. Right. You have the RDP housing. You have housing. Remember, rural development programs. They also cater for social security, health, education services, providing bursaries, remember NSFAS, and human resource research. Right. So these are the services of social welfare provided by the state. Right. Let's move on to 2.4. Discuss 7 democratic guidelines recommended for public management. 2.4. 1. Utilization of public financial resources must satisfy the collective needs. Utilization of public financial resources must satisfy the collective needs optimally. Two, all activities regarding financial management must take place in public, not under the cover of confidentiality. For activities regarding public finance must take place in public. Right. It's number three. Political representatives must be sensitive and responsive to the collective needs of the community. Political representatives must be sensitive and responsive They must be sensitive and responsive to public collective needs. Public collective needs. For the execution, the execution, the execution of budget programs should satisfy the needs of the public. The execution of budget programs should satisfy the needs of the public. Right. Participatory democracy participatory democracy participatory democracy means direct participation by the taxpayers. And lastly, public financial decision making must be fair. The public financial decision making, public financial decision making must be fair. Right. Let's go to question 2.5. List the three criteria that can be used to determine financial capacity. So you are going to list criteria to determine the financial capacity. Criteria to determine financial characteristics 2.4. So these includes 1, the capital income, the capital income of the community, of the community. 2, representative revenue system, representative revenue system. And the revenue potential of an ideal tax system. Revenue potential of an ideal tax system. Right. Move on to question 3. Question 3. Question 3. Describe 5 characteristics of collective services. Characteristics of collective services. 3.1. Right. 1, they are non-profitable. Right. 1, non-apportionable. 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 Right. 2, we have non-excludable. Non-excludability. 3, monopolistic in nature. 4, there is no direct quadrilateral. There's no direct quadrilateral. Well, right. Non-exhaustibility, or we can call it inexhaustibility. Right. So meaning to say they cannot, they are not depleted with use as long as they are maintained. They are always available. Non-excludability, meaning to say that people cannot be excluded from using them. Right. Monopoly nature, there is no competition except between different levels of government. No direct quid pro quo. This means that not all receive from this type of service. Some people may never enter parks, right? And non-apportionable, meaning to say cannot be divided into consumptive units and therefore cannot be supplied by unit according to free market principle of supply and demand, right? E.g. public parks. So let's move on. Let's move on to another question. Which is question 3.2. Name 4 types of uh, maladministration. Maladministration. Name 3 types of maladministration. Maladministration. These include maladministration. These include corruption. This includes corruption. Bribery. This also includes fraud, nepotism. This also includes stealing of money, and also not taking care of the stock and equipment, not following correct procedures, as well as purchasing of non-budgeted items. So let's go to question 3.3. List the 5 forms or types of tax as the source of revenue for the central government. Right. So we're going to talk about types of tax as a source of revenue for the central government. Right. Types of tax 3.3. Right. So this includes income tax, This includes income tax, airport tax, it also include fringe benefits tax, customs and excise duty, we also have interest on dividends, interest on dividends. As well as value added tax, but value added tax, which is what we call VAT. VAT. Right. So these are types of tax that are a source of revenue for a central government. But let's move on to 3.4. 3.4. 3.4. Explain 6 roles of departmental financial officers. Roles of a departmental financial officers. Roles of a financial departmental officers. 3.4. Right. So these roles includes one, they act as a main advisor to the accounting officer. Main advisor to the accounting officer, to the accounting officer, to the exercise budget control a daily basis. Exercise budget control. It also controls all transactions of departments. The financial officer also report any maladministration. He reports any maladministration and reports to the accounting officer. He also supposed to provide effective internal procedure to ensure financial regulations are followed. Provide effective internal regulations procedures. Right. To ensure financial regulations are followed. Right. But that's is his duties, as well as supposed to have a sound knowledge of financial matters. Supposed to have a financial, sorry, have a sound knowledge. Have a sound knowledge of financial matters. Right. Let's move on to question 3.5. What does fiscal inequality means? So fiscal inequality means that some communities who are poor might have fewer services or might not be able to collect taxes as effective as another authority such as government. Right? That's what it means. That some communities who are poor might not be able to collect as much taxes, right? So they end up have fewer services, right? That's what we call fiscal inequality. Fiscal inequality. Right, let's go to question 4.1. Discuss 5 factors that commonly describe a budget. Right. Factors commonly describes a budget. 4.1. Right. So we have 1, a source of information. A source of information. 2, we also have a statement of intent. 3, a work program. 4, a means of promoting accountability. 5, a means of promoting accountability. And lastly, an instrument of control. An instrument of control. An instrument of control. Right. So these are the factors that commonly describes a budget. Right. Let's go to 4.2. Explain 3 characteristics of the social welfare state. Characteristics of a social state. 4.2. One, it provides only basics. e.g., education, health, and welfare. It allows people greater freedom. It allows people greater freedom. Right. 3, it guarantees individuals competition for entrepreneurs. It guarantees individual competition for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. Right. As well as that it does not guarantee a share in all things. Does not guarantee a share in all things. Well, let's go to 4.2. 4.2. 4.2. Right. So we are on 4.3. Right. Name 5 examples of order and protection provided by the state. 5 examples of order and protection provided by the state. Right. So we are going to give an example of order and protection provided by the state. Right. Which is 4.3. 4.3. Right. The state offer justice to also offer imprisonment, state security, civil defense, it also offers traffic policing, as well as military defense function, as well as military defense function. Right. So let's move on to Question 4.4. State two houses found in South African Parliament. Right. So South African Parliament has two houses, which includes the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Houses 4.4. You have the National Assembly, as well as the National Council of Provinces. Right, let's move on to question 4.5. Question 4.5. Question 4.5. Right. Discuss 5 functions of the Treasury. 5 functions of the Treasury. 5 functions of the Treasury. Right. 4.5. 4.5. Functions of the Treasury. 5 functions of the Treasury includes 1. Granting permission beforehand. 2. Ensuring financial policy. 3. Control of stocks and stores. 4. Review of the budget. 5. Evaluation of new policies and legislation. 6. They also act as an impartial body to avoid corruption. Acts as an impartial body to avoid corruption. Right. Right. So these are the functions of the Treasury. Granting permission beforehand. For example, if the department plans any changes to a program, the Treasury must be informed so that it can study the financial implications, right? Ensuring financial policies, right? To say it has to make sure that the financial policy is correctly interpreted, and effectively and efficiently executed, right? And then control of stock and stores, control of stock and stores, whereby they are supposed to control stock in the warehouse and stores, right? Because a large amount of stock representing a vast amount of money invested there, right? Reviews of the budget. You need to say the Treasury should determine whether all government departments have properly motivated budget proposals. Evaluation of new policies and legislation, meaning to say it must advise the legislature on financial cost of any new policies and laws. Right. Acts as impartial police to avoid corruption, whereby all approvals of dispensations are reported by the state auditor in his annual report to the legislature, and the treasurer is expected to explain all its approvals, right? Supposed to explain all its approvals, right, to the Standing Public Accounts Committee. Right. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for your time. Please do not forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and wish you the best.